Arran is one of my favourite Scottish islands. It's beautiful and accessible with a short ferry trip from Ardrossan, a port an hour away from Glasgow. It's often referred to as Scotland in miniature, capturing the beauty of the country on a little island. It's also used as a classroom for geology students, as it's almost unique in the world for having so much geological variety crammed into such a tiny part of the globe. All accessible and wonderful, regardless of whether you're a layperson or an expert. In an age of saturated hyperbole, I want to assure you that what lies ahead isn't just another run-of-the-mill experience. We're embarking on a true adventure, a journey that spans freezing ice sheets to fiery volcanoes, allowing us to traverse time across hundreds of millions of years, witnessing the emergence of life from a primordial sea into land, standing in an alien forest with the footprints of a centipede the length of a car, and joining James Hutton to peer into the awesome depths of time and embrace our cosmic journey as stardust exploring the cosmos. As we step onto the ferry from the mainland, a seemingly routine journey becomes a portal, a vessel that transcends the boundaries of geography and time, a ticket to embark on a time-travelling odyssey, a cosmic journey that unfolds layers of Earth's history and unveils the mysteries of the universe. And all you need is a little wonder, imagination, and appropriate footwear. Humans first arrived on these shores 10,000 years ago when the ice receded, and our hunter-gatherer ancestors camped over the summer for hunting and fishing. 6,000 years ago, new people arrived. Farmers. They set about clearing the forest, organising their society to the point where they could build these monuments. The first steps towards our modern world. Come here early at sunrise, and there's little to stop you from imagining a celebration, or some festival rejoicing the fabulous weather that Scotland is blessed with, or perhaps some axe trading market where our ancestors became seriously interested in rocks and geology. Axes made from hornfels. It's a metamorphic rock that formed where hot igneous rock touched the local mudstone is found in a quarry in the Highlands near Crenlarich, some 70 miles north, and these were prized. A noticeable feature, especially along the west coast of the island, is the presence of flat, fertile fields between the beach and the cliffs. These are called raised beaches. The land has risen due to a phenomenon known as isostatic rebound. The weight of the ice during the Great Northern Ice Sheet era pushed Arran into the crust, and when the ice melted, the entire island rose up like a cork, up to a rate of about 40 millimetres a year. Despite the rising in sea level, the land managed to stay ahead. The sandstone cliffs sculpted by waves when the ice melted, and exhibit caves formed during this process. When the first hunter-gatherers arrived 10,000 years ago, this area would have been a beach, though the caves are unsuitable for shelter due to the high tides between 6 and 10,000 years ago, with levels some 4 metres up the cliff face. The King's Cave, supposedly named after Robert the Bruce, served as a refuge, and the Picts, the local residents between the 5th century BCE and 500 CE, repurposed it as a church, and it features even more ancient carvings. Way too much pebble stacking for my liking. Oh my god! It's a pebble stacking shrine! The rock here is sandstone, formed in an ancient desert during the Permian, around 300 to 250 million years ago. It was subtropical, akin to the Sahara. This old red sandstone sits beneath new red sandstone, dating from the Triassic, roughly about 250 to 200 million years ago. While still under desert conditions, rising sea levels left wet sand, capturing the footprints of a Cheirotherium, a distant ancestor of the crocodile. The name means hand beast, and it reflects the prints, resembling that to a giant hand. It's all staggeringly beautiful, and a moment to reflect. We have cliffs laid down in a desert, and during recent geological times were buried under ice caps. They were lifted high above the rising sea and shaped by waves, explored by curious humans, and you can see in the distance there's columns of magma. The Earth's dynamic forces, frozen as molten rock that once found a crack, formed what is now known as a sill. These forces, which occurred here about 50 million years ago, are happening today under the little fishing town of Grindavik in Iceland. We can, at least in spirit, follow in the adventurous footsteps of our ancient farming ancestors who colonized this island, innovating and discovering as they progressed. Our journey takes us south to Arran Geopark. The landscape unfolds in a rather surreal tableau. Stretching out to sea are strange walls. Are these the ruins of an ancient dock, of an outpost of Atlantis? Well, no. What you see is one of the best examples of a dike swarm. Magma from what a crack in the earth opened up as North America and Greenland, floating on a bed of magma, sailed west, and Europe sailed east. Still going on now with the hotspot under Iceland. This volcanic activity was relatively recent, between 20 and 30 million years ago, when the Himalayas were mere hills and the North Atlantic a few hundred rather than thousands of miles across. We are looking at the plumbing, the route the magma took before it broke the surface. This area, which stretches from Giant's Causeway in Northern Ireland all the way up to the Isle of Skye, was like Iceland. Lava hills occasionally interrupted by eruptions. The intervening millions of years have eroded the volcanic surface away, although you can visit intact volcanic landscapes on Mull and Skye. This was over 2 meters tall. Erosion has bitten down into the rocks, and the cracks opened up in it, which is more sandstone and mudstone. It's Triassic new red sandstone. As the seas began to encroach in this arid desert, there's also beds of limestone and siltstone you would find in shallow tropical waters. And if you look around, you can find more footprints belonging to the Cheirotherium. In the distance, that pimple of an island, Isle Chartres, is a granite called Pluton, formed very deep in the crust again, 50 or so million years ago during the period of volcanic activity. It has slowly travelled up from the depths, a few millimetres each year. The fine crystalline structure of the rock is because it took hundreds of thousands of years to cool, and is a source of rock for curling stones. Heading up north, Goat Fell is the miniature mountain in this miniature natural geological theme park. It's not quite a Munro, being 100 metres short at just 874 metres. But it makes for easy walking and a dramatic expedition. There are golden eagles nesting in the crags, and you can see them aloft on the thermals, although they may be tiny to the naked eye as they fly very high, not because they're really the size of sparrows. The mountain is granite, again formed in recent volcanic periods, but several kilometres deep underground, and over the last 20 million years it made its way to the surface. I explore this extraordinary story of volcanic mountain building in my Isle of Skye Rocks video, if you want to learn more. And a lovely example of a U-shaped valley, carved by successive glaciers of the last 2.8 million years. And there's other glacial features, such as hanging valleys, arats, that's the sharp ridges, and glacial deposits. I'll be doing a full video just on the Ice Age and glacial features, so check to see if that's been published for a deeper insight into our frozen past. To the east of Goat Fell, on the beach at Corrie, is the most extraordinary geological classroom. This beach is a portal of adventure into a geological past. We literally step through hundreds of millions of years. We start our journey 370 million years ago. Prior to then, nearly 500 million years ago, continents collided, pushing up the Caledonian mountain range as tall as the Alps. There was no life on land at this time, and it was a windswept range of peaks which quickly eroded because they were so exposed. So rocks, sands and gravels, all with a lot of quartz, washed down in ferocious flash floods in a hot and arid environment. And these form these distinctive conglomerates. Nearby are more volcanic rocks. It's a miniature giant's causeway, although they are mere babies in geological age. This was another volcanic episode in Britain's varied past, dating to the Carboniferous period, when Britain was a lush primal forest, with great alien-looking trees that laid down the coal beds. Here, lava probably swamped by volcanic mudflow, allowing the lava to cool into these little columns. During the Carboniferous, changing sea levels switched the area from swamp and forest to a shallow, warm tropical sea, and back and forth. The limestone here formed with rich calcium mud and the shells of ancient inhabitants, and this little cave has a little roof of shells. And here we are back in new red sandstone, dated from 270 million years ago. It's an ancient desert where we can see patterns in the sandstone. wind-blown fine-grained sand, and visible crossbedding. The same thing can be seen in sand dunes today, whether it's on the beach or in the desert. The same forces that were operating hundreds of millions of years ago can be seen now in action. Perhaps an obstacle people have getting into geology is the huge timescales involved. They are mind-boggling, but here we see the moment a gust of wind blows over the fine grains of sand. For an extraordinary snapshot of the distant past in a distant alien landscape, we have a photograph, almost of a split second, a lightning strike in the desert, just like those ancient footprints captured in the mud and then rock of a moment in the daily routine of a prehistoric crocodile. This is lightning captured, a fulgurite. It's vitrified sand, and if we were to slice into the rock, we would see the path of lightning. And there we have it, a tangible timeline of over 100 million years. Time travel in our lifetimes, or a lunchtime at least. Our final excursion takes us north, covering a distance of about 10 kilometres. Now, I left my bike in Sanok for a quick return to Loch Ranza. But there's also a bus that connects the villages. Alternatively, you can start in Sanok and follow the coastline counterclockwise. You can also break up the trip into two shorter journeys, either setting off from Loch Ranza for a brief walk and from Sanok for a longer hike, as going clockwise a few kilometres encounters a boulder field that's tricky even in dry conditions to negotiate. James Hunn, a Scot who lived at the end of the 18th century, was a genius. He was also fond of whisky, women, and bawdy humour. He came across a curiosity near his farm on the borders that he named an unconformity. But before he shared his ideas, he wanted to find better examples of these geological oddities. He found one here on Arran. It's not entirely clear from the beach, and it's best viewed from the sea. What is an unconformity? Well, it's simply a junction between two rocks. Here we have Dalridian schists and sandstone. The schist is a mud and gritstone laid in an ancient sea between 1 billion or 500 million years ago. It was then metamorphosed into a harder rock as that ancient seafloor was dragged down into the crust, heated, transformed, and returned to the surface. Hundreds of millions of years later, in the Carboniferous period, sandstone formed, and you can make out the two rocks where they meet. The sandstone, it is a slight angle after being tilted over time, and the ancient schist has been buckled into an almost upright strata over an even greater length of time. It was then eroded, and only after millions of years, covered in sand, washed down over it to form this sandstone cap. Now there's something like 100 million year gap between the two different strata. James Hutton didn't have access to modern dating methods of rocks. He just realised that it must have been an eternity. Many in his time imagined the Earth to be 6,000 years old. Some thought it was longer, perhaps 100,000 years. However, James Hutton literally blew everyone's mind. The concept of deep time, championed by James Hutton and explored on Arran, acts as a profound bridge between the Earth's history and cosmic chronicles. By comprehending geological eons, we extend our temporal perspective far beyond human timescales. This expansion of our understanding is crucial in contextualizing our place in the universe. Earth, with its ancient rocks, becomes a storyteller, not just of our own past, but also of the cosmic epochs that have unfolded across the vastness of space. The scientific journey from James Hutton's concept of deep time, although he didn't call it deep time, to the utilization of radioactive isotopes for dating rocks, has significantly enhanced our understanding of Earth's history and its place in the vast cosmic expanse. These interconnected concepts form the basis for unraveling the mysteries of our solar system and the broader universe. And the same forces operate today as they did in the past geologically, and are recorded as neat pages in Earth's autobiography. Likewise, the forces that formed our planet, our local solar system and sun, are also operating across the universe. Just as our ancient farming ancestors explored these new islands and pushed the boundaries of their knowledge, people like James Hutton pushed the boundaries of human understanding that have allowed us to look at the wonders of our home planet and into the cosmos. And so on to my final destination on this island, at least on this visit. I will be back, and there's plenty to explore. My destination is quite tricky to find, but all of these walks I've been on, you can download descriptions and locations for the amazing Arran Geopark trails, or pick up their leaflets, and there's a link in the description. Dragon Cottage, a lovely little house, a fixer-upper I think they call it, in the property trade. Yeah, I could live here. Bit of a walk to the shops. But very nice. Wood burning stove. Some birds. We shouldn't be in here. As you get in. Just needs the roof fixing, I think. Maybe we should move in. Be a bit of a bugger getting slates down though. Here we step back into an alien tropical world with dragonflies the size of birds, tall weird-looking trees, and the most bizarre creature, the Arthropleura, a giant millipede the length of a car. It lived on the forest floor of a swamp forest 300 million years ago, and it left its footprints in the mud, and here they are. I cannot stress how different Scotland looked like then compared to today, but how different that world was to our own. The sun was a little dimmer, oxygen levels were much higher, allowing for these giant insects. Animal life consisted of insects and amphibians, and plant life experimented with bizarre trees with a new material in use called lignin. The fungus of this period was unable to digest this new material we call wood, and so it rotted in the swamps, forming thick layers of peat that turned into coal. The buildings you see, which indicate you're in the right place to look, were part of a sea salt factory, and the local coal seams were used to evaporate the water. As humans now pursue adventures in the cosmos, we can now identify distant alien planets, exoplanets, and some, no doubt, are in that special zone of life, the Goldilocks zone. Perhaps one is like our ancient past, a tropical, densely forested planet with giant insect creatures. Arran becomes a gateway to our planet's distant past, and it's a very beautiful chapter in Earth's autobiography. And beyond its geological marvels, the island's charm lies in its ability to spark curiosity and to ignite a sense of awe. I invite you to discover Arran's secrets, for every step unveils a chapter in Earth's rich narrative, and beckoning all to explore this captivating gem in Scotland's embrace. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. Do like, comment and subscribe.